What's up, y'all? It's All Wolf. So here we are today. I decided to do a video. I originally was going to do it on colors, but I decided to do it on something else. I'm going to do a video on marriage, okay? And this is one that I thought about doing kind of on a last whim. This may be for men, but also for women, and I think that men should pay attention to this one, okay? If you're a guy and you want to get married, I'm not married, okay? So, never have been. I've been engaged once. So, I was engaged once, and didn't get married, and it was because the relationship ended up being a complete fraud, okay? So, that was a while ago. So, what mistakes did I make when I got engaged? I really didn't know the person. I didn't test them enough. I didn't know them for long enough. They went around and lived a double life, was a narcissist, had mental health disorders that I couldn't spot because it was too covert. So, and I wasn't awakened at the time enough to know about this. I didn't know how humanity worked on the dark triad. There was different things, light and dark. I understood it, but I didn't. I was mainly in the dark with it, but I was walking in the light but blind, just staring out in the darkness, not knowing what I was seeing. So, what would I say about marriage, okay? You need to know that other person, okay? And I mean, you need to go through some trials and tribulations with that person and really understand how they are wired fundamentally before you even think about it. So there's people who go and get hitched on a whim and let's go do a shotgun wedding, and it ends up not working out. You know, there may or may not be an alimony situation, or people get screwed, or hearts get broken, things regret it, you know, people regret it. You get shitty tattoos you got to remove. There's a whole bunch of stuff, you know, that can come along with that, okay? So you could be with somebody for 5 years and there's something missing, okay? When you get to certain intervals in your relationship, you should do check-offs, checklists of what you think is missing, okay? And if you're just, you know, having sex all the time and you want to get married because you like having sex all the time, that's not what is going to carry you through a marriage, okay? And I don't really think that marriage is for me, which it may be in the future, who knows, but do I advocate for it? Some people advocate against it because of how society's double standards are, okay? And in that regard, I walk with God, I walk with the Bible, so I approve of marriage, okay? Do I think that it is easy to get married in modern society? No. It's heavily leveraged against men. Men are going to struggle with it, okay? And that if you find a woman that is a Proverbs 31 woman, you find a woman who fits your energy just right, you can make things work, okay? And if you find a woman that, you know, if you're not a Christian, you're just listening to my channel, if you find a woman that believes in your same morals and values and it doesn't have the tendency to cave into like scumbag material, and then for women, this is also for men. Don't go, if you're a good woman, don't go out with some scumbag and try and marry him. It's not going to work, okay? Just make sure from both angles, both genders understand that, okay? Because there are people out here on both sides of the coin, male and female, that will do some really crappy things, okay? And you need to see if they have that potential to do that, okay? That takes time. You have to see how people respond in given certain situations, okay? Okay. Say you're at a 5-year mark in a relationship, okay? And you thought about marriage at one point, and then something was off where something's being hidden from you that's really important that you have not been told, okay? That you know it's in the dark, and you know that if you marry this woman, it will come out, and you'll regret doing any of it, okay? If you haven't tried to get that truth out of them, you can try and do that. And it can be something as stupid as they were married once before and they lie about it, okay? Or something. I'm going to use that as an example. You know, it could be anything, okay? This will happen to people when they see a red flag and it's tapping them on the conscious or on the shoulder, and they don't pay attention to it, okay? And then it bites them later, or something happens and they go, I just wasted a lot of time in my life, when I could have had a good relationship with somebody else, or I could have just been doing my own thing and been single, okay? I advocate for being single too. So being single, being married, it's kind of whatever personal choice you want to have, okay? I'm not going to be gung-ho and try and push people to get married or push people to be single. You do what you want to do. Once you make that conscious decision, I'll support you with it, okay? I support marriage. I support, biblical beliefs. I support people in their decisions as long as they're wise, okay? Foolish decisions I don't support. Maybe I should leave it at that. If your decision is foolish, then I'm probably not going to support it, okay? So you have a 5-year relationship, something's wrong. There's one red flag that's sitting in the background, and you've evaluated that it's not one of your scars from your past of something that's happened to you. So some people will get cheated on, and they have these scars that this woman's cheating, but they're actually just deeply insecure, okay? And that's because, well, they haven't been on their grind. They haven't really been doing what they want to do. Things are kind of screwed up, okay? So you see that. Here we go. Okay, so you got this situation 5 years in with a red flag, and you've tried a whole bunch of stuff. You've gone to, some people will go to couples therapy. Some people will go to different lengths of trying to solve this and resolve it, and people will keep it in the dark and kind of shove it under the rug. And it comes out, sometimes it comes out when you're 40, 50 years old. You wish you would have never made the choice. You wish you would have paid attention to the red flag. You wish you would have, you wish you would have, you wish you would have. And if you act and get married on a situation where there's a red flag that's going to be a deal killer, and it comes out and it completely destroys the relationship because this person hid this under the rug, and it comes out eventually, you're going to be extremely pissed, in a shitty state of mind, and you're not really going to know what to do, okay? You'll be in this point where you don't trust a damn soul around you, which I don't really trust anybody, but I trust God. That's about it. But with most people, how I interact, I don't assume that you're lying, but I take certain things with a grain of salt where there's a potential for human error of not telling the truth. So it's kind of how I see it. It's not like I'm blaming people for being liars and this and that. Like, there's a potential human error where they're being a fool and they're lying about something. That's just how I treat life, okay? So you're in this 5-year relationship, and you find out that or you have this red flag that somebody did something. Say she beat the shit out of somebody, okay? She beat the shit out of somebody. She has a charge for it on her record. I'm not saying background check your spouse. That's kind of weird. But say she beat the crap out of somebody, say a barbecue or something like that she had a long time ago, and she caught an assault charge for it, and she's been lying to you about it, trying not to look like she's got a problem with anger when you can clearly tell she has a problem with anger, okay? And this is just an example. And this is for men. Women can if you're a woman and you're watching my channel, I want you to reverse gender roll it, okay? So I'm speaking in my perspective as a man, so I'm going to speak male to female, but I encourage women to flip it and go female to male with the same context, okay? So don't trust a man until, I'm not saying don't trust men, but don't trust a person to a point where you believe in your mind that they are not capable of human error of deception. Deception and betrayal is ingrained in humanity, in both genders, okay? So, how do you look at a situation where you have a red flag that's in the dark, okay? And some people don't see it coming either. So there'll be subtle red flags where you see, aside from color flipping and this and that, I'm talking somebody that went through something or did something that they have to pay for, or something that happens. There's all sorts of potential red flags. You can have somebody that has a closet drinking problem and lies to you, the whole 5 years, and you find out right after you get married, she starts busting out the bottle and you're married to a drunk, okay? Or, in a woman's perspective, this guy's been hiding a drinking problem, and right when you marry him, a bottle comes out and you find out that he's a drunk, okay? And We find out why these subtle behavior type things were red flags for you and how it lined up. Okay. So when you see a red flag in the dark, and you're not able to find an answer to it, I believe that you're better with self-preservation to walk away and to start over and work on yourself and just do that type of thing. Okay. I believe that that's the antidote to that situation. So the wisest decision you can make with somebody that's got a red flag in the dark that you are suspecting is in the dark is to pull back, push them away, and work on yourself. Okay. And reevaluate it from a position where you are not so ingrained deeply in the situation. Okay. So marriage is a big deal. Marriage, some people say it's a business contract. It's a covenant with another. You're basically signing a contract, a divine contract with somebody in front of God. Okay. That's basically what marriage is. You're signing a divine contract in front of God with another person. That contract, it comes with stipulations. If you look in the Bible, one of the reasons why divorce is permitted is adultery. Okay, so people cheat. You see it a lot. He or she cheated with somebody at work, and the relationship fell apart. And you'll see people that get divorced for even weirder reasons. But maybe I shouldn't go into that. I mean, I could probably go on Reddit and find a whole bunch of reasons why people got divorced that were pretty foolish. But marriage is one of these things where you're signing a divine contract, and if you sign that divine contract with that person and you don't pay attention to that red flag that's in the dark, that person, they kind of almost, it seems as though they want it so bad that they're not willing to come forward with that red flag because they know it'll be a deal killer. Okay, when in reality, if they would have come out about it early enough, that maybe you would have been more receptive to it because it was out in the open. It's the betrayal of it being in the dark and not being brought to light that causes a real problem. Okay, so here's the deal. People getting married at a young age, I'm not going to say it's wrong, but for some reason that bothers me. Okay, and I think it's because we don't have enough life experiences underneath us. Okay, some people, I think it's just meant to be. You see people that get married in high school and they last forever and they're totally good. They got 350-year marriage going on, and people respect it because it's a hard thing. People respect it for the stability reason, the good decision and the stability, especially if you have a woman that's your crown. Or in a woman's case, you have a man that, is your crown in a way. It's kind of, that's not biblical, but I mean, you can send the genders both ways and say that. You're a crown for each other. You have a king and a queen. They're a crown for each other. Okay, that's kind of how I see it. But the Bible, states a good woman is your crown, basically. So, marriage is such a hard decision. Some people get cold feet because they don't know if that's what they want. Some people still want to go and experience life before they settle down and sign a divine contract, which you can't blame them for that. For one, they want to go out and there's something missing that they haven't achieved, and sometimes it's something within themselves that they haven't answered the question to. Self-satisfaction might have something to do with it. People aren't satisfied with how their lives went up until being married or in the face of marriage, and they want something more. Okay, they want more from life before they sign a divine contract, because they want to have their life, but they don't want to have to share a life with another person. So there's a sacrificial element to getting married, and that sacrificial element is life isn't necessarily just your one-way road. You have a road that you share together, and you have somebody else that's trying to steer their road straight. Okay, so marriage is such a tough thing nowadays, man. And you have people, you have like the MGTOW movement, okay, where I understand them. Okay, you've been burnt really hard by women. Society is really screwed up. Double standards are really tough. I went through it really hard myself with things that people ask me, are you MGTOW or are you this, are you that? Like, I'm lone wolf, okay? Are you MGTOW? I'm lone wolf, okay? That's just how I'm gonna answer it. I'm not saying I don't support people, but I'm lone wolf and I support wise decisions. That's kind of something that I'll probably tell people a lot. When people ask me, are you a Democrat, or are you a Republican, or are you a Libertarian? I'm lone wolf and I support wise decisions, okay? That's where I kind of sit at, where I'm like, I don't really want to go into politics or this or that. Marriage, I support marriage, but I support it if it's a wise decision. If it's a foolish decision and you just got married to somebody you just met, then I'm probably not going to support it. Well, I mean, I support you getting, signing a divine contract, sure, but under the right circumstances. I may not support it if it seems as though it's a foolish decision. If you know it's a foolish decision and it's not the most wise thing that you can do, then yeah, I'm not going to support it. If you openly tell me it's probably not the most wise thing I can do, then yeah, I'm probably not going to support you with it. It depends on if your decision is wise or it's foolish, and it could be both. It could be both, which is hard. Maybe marriage is a wise decision between two fools who are trying to become more wise and stable. That could be. Marriage can be seen in a lot of different lights, and I don't want to step on any toes or do this or that. And I mean, if anybody wants to yell at me, go ahead and throw sticks at me. I'll probably just build something with it. So, and I mean, people that throw sticks at me, it gives me ideas. So if you hit me with a stick, or you throw stones at me, I'm gonna kind of evaluate that stone you just threw at me and go, okay, well, maybe I should put that into question and think about it. I'm not going to take it to heart and get mad and respond and get angry at you and throw the rock back at you. It's more of I'll just observe why you threw it, for one, and for two, maybe I could get some meaning out of it. So maybe it's not a meaningless rock. Maybe it was a meaningless rock, but maybe there's some meaning out of that rock that I can gain from it and maybe teach somebody something, okay? So, marriage, okay? Marriage changes a whole lot. It changes a lot. So when you get married, you have more than just your own life to care for. You have to balance a life with each other. You can't just get married and both be running your own lanes and just say there's no life together. That's not really marriage. That's kind of, we just signed a contract, but we want to live independent lives, which is kind of strange. I've seen people kind of do that, but at a certain extent, there is a life together, okay? There's a relationship, there's a life together, there are values and morals that you need to stick by. Some people get married and they go off and cheat, and both people think it's okay, and it's kind of twisted and screwed up, and I don't really understand why you got married in the first place, other than maybe you did it for stability reasons for your children, or this or that. There's a whole lot of reasons people get married, okay? Is it a foolish decision to get married just because you have children? Is that a wise decision? Or is that a foolish decision, okay? And it could be both. It could be foolish because, well, maybe that's not the right reason to get married. It could be a wise decision because maybe you choose to build a family together and do something and really stick it out. So it can be a wise decision, it could be a foolish decision. Marriage is a very difficult decision in life. Having children, the active decision to have children, and marriage are two hard decisions for men and women, okay? They are very, very hard decisions. They're life altering. Think about it. If you decide to get married and have kids, you're balancing your own life, you're balancing your life together, and you're also balancing the lives of your offspring. That's a lot. So people that have been married a long time and raised kids together, that is a lot of responsibility to carry. That can be a wise thing. It can ground you in life where you take care of certain priorities over being a fool. Okay, it's wise to take care of your kids' direction and your kids' paths. It's wise, okay? So when it comes down to being married, what is the most important advice that I could give anybody who's debating the decision? Say your girlfriend asked you to marry her. Say things are a little bit different, okay, than traditional. say your girlfriend asked you to marry her. I mean, she was serious. She went and bought a men's wedding ring or an engagement ring, whatever you would call it. Gets on one knee when you're at the beach and says, I really want to marry you, Ralphie. And Ralphie's sitting there kind of stunned, like, this usually doesn't happen. I'm the one that's supposed to be doing that. This is a little different. How would I view that situation? Well, if I wasn't served the cards that I was. So I was served loads of betrayal that are very difficult, okay? So my perspective on it may be different than what Ralphie's perspective is on it, okay? Ralphie may see it as the wisest decision he ever made because this woman has no red flags and he hasn't taken the steps to do it for certain reasons, or maybe he just hasn't thought about it, okay? So what are some wise decisions I can tell you? Before you decide to engage in marriage, I believe that your financial stability is important, but I don't think it's the most important thing. The most important thing that you can do before you decide to get married is to get wisdom, okay? Get wisdom at all cost. Read Proverbs, read the Bible. Make sure that your mind is wired in a certain way, because if you go and get married and you are operating in a foolish state of mind, you have a higher chance of screwing shit up than if you were wise and making the right decisions, okay? Step number 2, is your partner wise? Is your partner making wise decisions? If you have a partner that's making a bunch of foolish decisions, okay, in life, and they're asking you to marry them, chances are they're probably going to make foolish decisions after you get married. And the chances of your marriage falling apart are a lot higher than they would be if they made wiser decisions or they had their head on right. So are they in the right direction in life, okay? Do people have a direction? Do you have a direction? So before you get married, you need to ask the questions about yourself and your spouse, or your potential spouse, sorry. And that is, since I've known you, how have you screwed up with me, but with other situations? So you evaluate how certain things came their way, and chaos can really reveal that to you, okay? And some people may make a more wiser decision than foolish, but it was still just pegged out on the scale, or it wasn't super wise, or it wasn't really stupid. It wasn't super foolish. Okay? I want you to think about that. From a female's perspective, okay? If you have been dating a guy and he really doesn't have his stuff together and he's kind of just acting a fool, okay? He really doesn't have much direction, and he asks you to marry you, chances are that's probably not going to be a good decision, okay? If the man that you're with is acting like a fool around you, your friends, your family, or is just making foolish decisions in life, a fool will cling to anything, okay? Someone who's drowning because they're not wise are going to cling to people and things and money and try and keep themselves afloat instead of going to do the necessary work up here to ensure that they can stay afloat. You will sink with everything you have. If you're a fool, you will sink with everything you have. You need to understand that. If you're wise, you can ride out a storm. So let's go with this, okay? Put this out. Okay. If you're a man and you're gonna say that you're Ralphie, and Ralphie's girlfriend, let's use a name here, Veronica, asked you to marry you, and you're Ralphie, but Veronica's made a lot of piss poor decisions that maybe her dad just can't stand her now. Her family can't stand her, or she pulled out a loan for something stupid, went and bought a Corvette and is riding around buying stupid shit to fill a void here that she won't figure out. She won't heal a wound. She won't understand why she's insecure. There's certain things that you will notice with people. Is there a hole here? are there seeds, that dark seeds that have been put in people's minds that they've let permeate into a full-size bush down here, that they haven't done the work by reading the Word of God, by removing these seeds, or at least gone to therapy to try and figure them out, okay? If she hasn't, chances are that's not going to work. If he hasn't, chances are it's probably not going to work. If they have deep-rooted insecurity and they asked you to marry, if they asked you to marry them out of sheer insecurity, you're going to notice that insecurity permeates within the relationship across time. Even little situations. My boss threw a get-together at work, and he automatically thinks that you're sleeping with him. When in reality, you barely even know the guy. You just know his first and last name, and he wears some suit, and he walks around. So, foolish and wise decisions and behavior, mode of being, okay? Jordan Peterson talks about mode of being. And I think it's important to maybe look at that. Jordan Peterson has a lot of interesting videos on marriage. And, you know, nobody can say that they have this white picket fence marriage, okay? Like, things are going to go the way things are going to go, okay? So, you could have somebody who doesn't give you any red flags, okay? Who doesn't give you any foolish real decisions, and you get together, get married, and they make a foolish decision because God tested them and they failed it, okay? Use that as an example. Use that as an example. You can have somebody that makes really wise decisions, and then you marry them and they end up making a foolish decision. That is a gamble that you're going to take. But your chances are higher if you have somebody that makes wise decisions in their life. And when I mean wise decisions, they may have made a bunch of foolish decisions in their past, but they have made wise decisions and made a change. So you have to identify that. Say I went and bought a Corvette. I'm not saying anything about buying Corvettes because they're nice, but you pulled out a loan to go and buy a whole bunch of these sports cars and, you know, different things, and you owe all this money, and you paid it all off. You sold off your Corvette, or you still have it, one or two. You paid it off, and you kind of see, okay, well, he kind of made a foolish decision in his past. He blew a lot of money, but he's making wise decisions. He's saving his money. He's got his own business going, or he's working up his way in the ladder in corporate, or whatever it may be. Since he made that change to get wise, has he stuck to that? Has he been mindful about being wise and less foolish across a comfortable amount of time that you can trust, okay? I believe this is where we see somebody that has like 3 divorces, and you just have that red flag. You're like, this isn't going to work out. I'm going to the 4th divorce. Like, could be you've been through 3 divorces and you learned a whole lot of crap from those 3 marriages, and you sought wisdom, and you started making wiser decisions, and you see that from that person, and you go, okay, this person had 3 failed marriages, but they put it together and they figured it out. This is how I'm not going to make a 4th mistake, okay? So if you see in somebody's life that they had a whole life full of foolish decisions, but they started making wise decisions and they got wisdom at all costs, even if they lost everything. Here's the deal. I would rather have a broke partner that is wise than a foolish partner that is filthy rich. Some people would be like, what? Like, she can buy me the Corvette. It's like, hold on a second. You need to think about it, okay? If there's a woman that comes to me that, you know, is dirt poor, okay, but she has made extremely wise decisions, and I have seen that, the wise decisions in her life. So one wise decision is that she doesn't betray anybody. That people can say that about her, or that she's been betrayed. If you have a woman or a man that's been betrayed by everybody and they've made the wise decision not to take revenge, chances are you're going to have a partner that isn't going to bite you with a vindictive snake of betrayal, okay? So there's a level of trust just based on how you've operated through life, that you have a moral, that you walk a certain path, that you don't do that, okay? So you know, just because I didn't cook you dinner on Saturday night and I went out for a movie with a bunch of my homeboys or homegirls or whatever, that you're not going to turn around and just cheat on me just because you're mad, okay? Something like that, all right? So And you can have somebody that's never betrayed anybody in their life, and they betray you one time and snake bite you for a myriad of reasons, okay? A myriad of reasons. Anybody is capable of betrayal. So look at it this way. This is kind of weird, okay? But you see somebody that wants to marry you, or that you both are thinking about marriage, okay? Look at each other's decisions from a certain point. I mean, you can see people made foolish decisions at one point, yada yada. But look at it as like what is your resume of wisdom? What wise decisions have you made in your life? Okay, and maybe that's a question that you should ask your potential partner before or after there is an engagement request. Okay, I think that's what would happen to me if Veronica got on one knee and said, "Wolfie boy, I want to marry you," I would probably turn and say, "Okay, let's go for a walk on the beach. Get off your one knee. We'll go over and talk, okay? What's the most wise decision you've ever made in your life?" And they can't tell you. They need to reflect on that, and that reflection would actually help you out to make a decision, okay? And that's kind of hard because people put you under pressure and like, "Will you marry me?" And it's like, well, half the time if you do it on a whim and you do it in a foolish way, they're probably going to say no, okay? So if you did it in a wise way where you've been dating somebody for a year, 5 years, I think that you should know somebody at least for longer than a year before you marry them. I'm not saying dating, so you could know somebody for 5 years, but you dated them for 1 and you decided to get married. So you know their track record of how they've been, okay? Here's the deal. Infidelity is one thing that kills relationships, and so is lying. So you have somebody that lies to you all the time. Lying, infidelity, sometimes addiction issues. Addiction issues can be fixed, and I've seen that with people where there's like a person that's been hooked on alcohol, let's say. That's just an example I'm going to use. But somebody that's been hooked on alcohol that went to treatment and makes wise decisions every day to avoid it, they are compatible partners for another person, okay? So just because somebody had a problem in their past with this, and this, how did they rectify it? What wise decisions did they make? Did they identify why I was foolish? If you ask them, what was meaningful from that entire situation, and they give you serious answers that you know they've done the reflection work, then you more than likely have a green flag than a red flag to go ahead and get married, okay? So asking your other person before if you're thinking about marriage, maybe you should ask your other half, or potential other half. I don't really know. These are terms I'm trying to ride. I don't really understand here. But you ask them, what was the most wise decision you ever made in your life? And they tell you. And you ask them, what was the most foolish decision in your life that you ever made? And they are honest with you about, I made this really foolish decision, this, and this, okay? And some people won't tell you. They'll just kind of, I was going to hide that one, so that sucked. You tell them the most, they tell you the most foolish decision they've ever made, okay? So they tell you the foolish decision, and you ask them, why was it meaningless and why was it meaningful? And some people, you'll ask them that and they're like, I don't really know, so maybe it was meaningless. Well, if they tell you it was completely meaningless, it was a foolish decision that was completely meaningless, don't get married. If they tell you it was meaningless because I acted this way and this happened, but it was meaningful because I learned this, I applied this happened afterwards, my life got better because I learned from it, then chances are you're going to have a green flag versus a red flag. Finding a wise person, okay? Wise people are hard to come by, alright? Somebody who's been wise their whole lives is pretty much impossible out here. Everybody's been a freaking fool at one point in their life, done something completely stupid where they've had to pay for it in one way or another, okay? They faced a full circle for it, and it was really hard, okay? So if you ask somebody, what was the most foolish decision you ever made in your life, and they tell you, I don't make foolish decisions, dog, you're either marrying C-3PO or you're dealing with a liar. So you're dating a robot, or and robots, I don't really think they make wise or foolish decisions, but I'm saying you're dealing with somebody that is basically in denial that they've made foolish decisions, and you don't want that, because they will make a foolish decision with you in your marriage, and lo and behold, what do you have? Okay, you have somebody who's going to go make a foolish decision and then pretty much blame you for it, and I don't make foolish decisions, and they're completely out there. So to not admit your fault with foolishness is to be either naive or severely self-inflated. Okay, one of the two. So the person's completely naive, or they're self-inflated to a point where they're not willing to admit to a foolish decision. Which, come on, dog, come on. Everybody's made a foolish decision. I made foolish decisions, and I had to learn from them. That's life, okay? It's life. So, I don't even know why I'm here, by the way. I'm sitting out here in a parking lot roasting at like 90-degree weather, smoking cigars and drinking coffee, just leaving y'all this video. So, waiting for a job right now. Looking fresh, man. Just bought myself some new shoes, man. I'm coming up. I'm doing all right now. So, I'm looking good, man. I feel like I'm looking good. Haven't been working out that much because that's been a little bit. I don't have no time right now, man. I've been stuck between here. I don't have time to work out. I don't really understand. I got to start doing some push-ups at the very least in the morning. I'm like slugging myself out of bed. But regardless, we'll talk about it. So, when it comes to your partner, other than wisdom and foolishness in that regard, what else can you do to evaluate if marriage is a wise decision or a foolish decision? How do they live their lives in a daily routine? Okay. And you'll have some people that are wise, but their lives are kind of all over the place a little bit. Like, they have a routine, but they have a lot going on. So you could have a wise person that runs 3 businesses, and they're up and doing this and this and this and this and running around. And there's a stability to that, okay? That's kind of how life is too. You'll meet some people who have that type of lifestyle. You have 2 people that have that type of lifestyle, they kind of mesh really well. My routine's all over the place. But I got certain things I do. I eat breakfast in the morning. There you go. There's one, okay? So what is a foolish decision with a normal routine, okay? You got somebody that wakes up in the morning and it's, 3 in the afternoon or something like that. Or they don't have an alarm set. Maybe that's a red flag for you, where I don't have an alarm set. I don't have a plan for my morning. Does the person have goals and ambitions every day, okay? Are you dead set on trying to figure out hold on a second. What's the person's routine, right? Does the person have goals and ambitions in the morning? If they do not have a routine, or they do not have goals and ambitions in the morning, sometimes I take that as foolishness, okay? If you don't have something going on, like, if somebody doesn't have something going on, okay? If I don't have something planned for the day, I'm not slammed with jobs, or I'm doing books, or I'm doing this and this and that, what am I doing? Well, I'm probably clearing out my storage unit, organizing my tools, or doing this and this and that. Somebody should at least be able to tell you, I got this going on, okay? Like, I got something going on. I've got this. Okay, well, what goals do you have tomorrow? Well, I got the day off. So you're like, well, okay, going for a hike. Some people might just tell you, I'm just gonna sit and watch TV. Okay, like, at least you're honest about that, but it could be foolish that you're doing that. Make sure that somebody has at least one goal every day, okay? So, and I know some people may say, Wolf, that's kind of crazy. Like, come on, like, we both chilling. It's days off. We're just chilling. Okay, if that's cool with you, I'm not saying that's mandatory. It's not mandatory for you to, your partner to be climbing the Statue of Liberty every single morning. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, how goal-oriented and focused are they? And if you're not goal-oriented and focused, then maybe you would do better with somebody that isn't goal-oriented and focused. I guess maybe something like that, but maybe you do better with somebody that is, so that you'd have an example set for you. But I'm just saying, that's kind of, people fall into routines together, which is kind of cool. So you have to see it, okay? There's questions that are really important that you need to ask people before you even think about signing divine contracts in front of God, okay? And the reason is because God, He encourages you to get married. He wants you to be married. He wants you to get fruit. He doesn't expect it. It's a choice. He wants He wants marriage to happen, okay? Marriage is a divine, holy thing between two people, okay? I'm not talking about people that are out here marrying mailboxes or I married my stuffed animal, that type of thing, okay? So, you think about it, okay? And that's all jokes aside. But how do I say this? Okay, so you evaluate what your partner is like now and what type of routines that they will have when you're together. And some people, they get married and things change, where they may be super goal oriented and have all this going on, and they get married to you, and the honeymoon phase, it dies off, okay? And once that honeymoon phase dies off, they don't go back into their routines or this or that. They start developing certain habits, okay? And people will develop certain habits that are not conclusive for a marriage that is built on wisdom, okay? If you have a marriage that's built on wisdom, you have a concrete slab where you build something. This is where, if you build it off of God first, you will have a concrete slab you have that is solid foundation, that we put God first. Like, we put God first before anything, okay? And I'm not saying that you have to go to church every single day, and put your marriage on. I'm not saying that, okay? I'm saying if you have morals where you value God and you value what He thinks, you're not going to make decisions that are going to jeopardize your divine contract, okay? See it like that. People text me for cars that aren't starting. I'm sitting here talking to you guys about marriage. People with Chryslers, bro. I'm getting tired of Chryslers right now. Chryslers, man. I'm telling you, they're driving me nuts, dog. The 3.6 Pentastar motor, check the oil galley bolts on those with the cam phasers. Those things back themselves out. I've had a lot of calls on those, regardless, okay? So, think about it. When somebody asks you to marry them, okay, or you ask somebody to marry you need to make sure that you're asking somebody to marry you that you thoroughly know that probably isn't going to change up their routine or start making foolish decisions based on their track record, their wisdom resume, okay? A resume of wisdom, asking important questions of what your goals are and see if they follow through with those goals. So, oh yeah, I go tomorrow, I'm going to go through my storage and do my tools. That's what he tells you. And as a woman, you're like, oh, okay, But the next day he goes and he sits down and starts playing FIFA or starts playing PlayStation or something like that and doesn't do it. And you're like, okay, you didn't meet that goal that you just told me you were going to meet. So pay attention to that. Are people living by what they're saying, or are they just throwing you something and then they don't do it? You will have that. You need to put people through certain tests before you consider marriage. So you don't go off and I'm completely in love with this person because we've been physically connecting and we can't get enough of each other and we're hooked on each other, but I don't really know if this person makes wise decisions or not. This is just really fun and I don't want the fun to end, so I'm going to get married. Don't think like that, okay? A divine contract with God is not Him ensuring you this is going to be a blast for the rest of your life. It ain't like that, okay? Relationships are hard, marriages are tough, they take work. You need to be realistic about it, okay? So that's something I would recommend. You need to make sure that you're looking at marriage as realistic and not like some dream fantasy honeymoon that never ends, okay? Marriage is not the paradise vacation in your mind that you think it is. Marriage is difficult. And I'm just saying this because I've seen marriage from the outside view. I almost stepped into one time. So this is a while ago. I mean, a while ago I almost did this, okay? It's a while ago I almost got married. And the reason I didn't get married was because the person was sitting on the couch and not doing anything, and I realized that I was doing it for stability reasons and I was being lied to and thrown around, and it was a good thing that I didn't. It was a good thing that I threw the person out of my house when I did. That sounds really bad, but threw you out, just get my condo back. And I made mistakes too after that, where I went and tried to like rebound, that type of thing, where I dated too soon with not enough wisdom, and I dated too soon, and I already knew it wasn't going to work. It was a rebound situation, but I don't really believe in rebounds that much anymore. A lot of people would say, oh, just sleep with someone else and you'll get over it. And it's like, maybe you should open up the Bible and figure out where you were a damn fool. And with every decision you made in that situation, you should be more wise about it than just saying, I'm going to go sleep with somebody and I'll get over it and push on that road and hop back on the horse and start doing it again. You're going to get the same result over again. So you find yourself relationship rebound, relationship rebound, relationship rebound, relationship rebound. Not smart. Okay? Get wise. Turn around. Figure out. Do the damn work, okay? Going and sleeping with somebody else is a rebound. You're avoiding the necessary work that will actually benefit you for the rest of your life. You won't be running in damn circles all the time, doing the same damn thing, same old dancing song. Everybody's looking at you like you're a dumbass, and you looking at yourself like you're a dumbass 20 years later when you look back and I just ran in circles for 20 years. Do the necessary work now. And you don't have to run in circles for 2 decades. To a point where God has reached you and put you at a point where you have to be in that, or it's sink or swim. It's live or die if you don't. And it will happen to you, where you'll go through 3 marriages and it's sink or swim. You owe alimony to 3 different people. Child support maybe on top of it. And you've been run through the ringer by your own foolish decisions. And a lot of guys will just foam out the mouth and scream at me for that shit, okay? They will foam out the mouth. There was a level of participation that you had as a damn fool that put you in that position, okay? You need to accept that there. If you accept that I made a damn foolish decision, and my foolish decision was even deciding to have unprotected sex with this person before I even married them or even understood who they were, then you probably made a damn foolish decision, okay? You're out here sleeping with people raw and doing your thing, like, dude, you gotta figure it out, okay? You have to figure it out. You need to be more. To be wise is to preserve yourself, okay? And to preserve yourself is, it's more than just, oh yeah, I'm gonna protect myself during sex. It's more of guard your heart, dog. It says that in the Bible too. Guard your heart. If you guard your heart, you see more. If you get wise and you guard your heart, you see more, versus you have an open heart, you're wearing it on your sleeve, and you're just running around aimlessly like Frankenstein, chasing down a bunch of females or males and just doing your thing. Women do it too. Y'all female Frankensteins out here running around grabbing on the men and women and everything. So, and men do it too, running around grabbing on the females, jumping around, doing this and this and that. If you can't be alone and you need a companionship, okay, and here's what I would advise. You get a dog or a cat and you read the Bible. You have your companionship with your pet and you get wise, okay? You don't go off jumping from person to person to person to person to person and you're running in circles doing that. A lot of people might disagree. It's like, okay, well, so some person might actually say, oh, well, I'm actually a player. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, I don't really got, okay. Like, it's okay. You know that you're running in circles and doing this and that, and that's okay. As long as you're aware of it, okay. I mean, I don't really think that players are unaware that they're not players, okay? Male or female, okay? So, what am I up against? I don't believe in monkey branching, okay? And all of us have done it where we've gone from one relationship to another, we monkey branch one to another. It's not smart. If you go through a breakup and somebody leaves your ass straight in the mud, or you leave somebody's ass straight in the mud, don't reach for the next branch, reach for the Bible. Reach for Proverbs, okay? Reach for Proverbs, reach for Ecclesiastes, reach for Genesis, reach for Matthew, reach for Luke. Get the Old Testament wisdom first. And a lot of people disagree with this, where they're like, you need to read the story of Jesus Christ, and you need to start there. And it's like, okay, when you do that, I don't disagree with it, but I also see that a different approach has been more successful in certain ways. So if you read Genesis and understand the snake and the stick, you understand Noah and the flood, and you understand the mark of Cain, and you understand how that played out through the story of Genesis all the way to the very end, okay? You understand that book completely, okay? So read Footprints too, but read Genesis and then read Footprints too. And I think it's important that you read both of them. Of course I'm going to say my book is important, but the book of Genesis is a lot more important than Footprints too, okay? So because it's basically interpreting it. So read Genesis more than once. Don't just read Genesis once and be like, I'm wise, because you're probably not wise. You just read it, you didn't understand it, you didn't ask the questions. I had to read it about 5 times, okay? So, You read Genesis, okay? You've got that in your mind. Matthew, Luke, the story of Jesus Christ is extremely important because the parables that Jesus spoke are extremely important to your life. They're extremely important to how you operate, to how you view the world. If you're a man, it is a good idea to read the Book of Ruth and understand why that's such a cornerstone, okay? Read Proverbs, read Ecclesiastes. You read Samuel, okay? First and second. You read all of Samuel. You understand betrayal. You understand the 3 archetypes of Genesis. You understand Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, so you understand wisdom. You've gained it, but you understand wisdom, foolishness, meaningless and meaning. You read parables, okay? Parables of the bags of gold, that type of stuff, okay? The parable of the unmerciful servant. There are a lot of parables outside of the book of Jesus Christ that you need to read that will give you old wisdom. You go and you look at you look at the whole Bible. The Bible is an old book, okay? But you read the story of Jesus Christ after that. I see a lot of people that will open the book and I'm just going to open up Revelations and see what the end of the world's like. And it's like, chill out, okay? You aren't going to understand anything in the Bible if you don't understand archetypes and certain books first, okay? And there's certain books of the Bible that will teach you how to live your life, okay? You can read like 1st and 2nd Kings and you will understand how to live your life. There's certain books like Ezekiel. Ezekiel has portions of it that you will look at and go, oh, like hold up a second, like I wasn't doing this right and it threw me down this hole and now I understand it, okay? And you understand how God works, you understand how humanity works, you understand what God expects of you, okay? Then you read the book of Jesus Christ and you understand the parables that he spoke and why he spoke it. If you read the book of Jesus Christ over and over and over again, you will gain something brand new from it each time. Matthew, Luke, and Mark, you read books like that and you read the story of Jesus Christ and you comb it, you will apply a new level of wisdom and understanding to why Jesus was such an important role in humanity. And once you understand that, you start to see the parables that he spoke to people. You start to understand why he said what he said, because he was the Son of God. So he showed up to speak these parables to people and live this life that is documented. Okay? Once you understand that, whew, you're on a whole nother level. And there's times I read the book of Matthew and I'm like, why didn't I see that? Like I combed over something and I didn't see it. And it's relevant. It's relevant to marriage. All of it is. All of it is. You need to understand something. With the book of Genesis, if you lie to your partner and you bit them with a snake, you're gonna get hit with a stick, and you don't have grounds to be mad about that. Some people are like, I'm mad because you're mad. It doesn't work that way, okay? You're mad because you bit somebody with a snake and they hit you with a stick on the skull. Like, get wise. That's when you get hit with a stick, you need to take that as I need to figure out why. I need to figure out how I'm not going to get hit with this stick again. Not, I'm mad at you because you hit me with a stick. Well, because you bit me on the heel. Let's be honest, okay? And sometimes it's God that hits you with the stick, and you're mad at the other person because God hit you with the stick, which is the most delusional thing you could ever imagine, okay? That's where you see somebody that's continually abusing the relationship, where I did this to you and God hit me with a stick and gave me consequences for it, but I'm mad at you for it. Dude ain't done nothing to you. Woman ain't done nothing to you. You're the one that did it. You got hit with the stick. Even if it was through them, God used the stick through them to bash your teeth in, okay? And you're trying to figure out why that happened. You're just blaming your partner. Dude, you are the most unawakened, naive fool I have ever seen. To not acknowledge that God hit you with a stick. Some people, it takes them getting lumped their whole life to figure that out. Oh, I've been being hit with by God this whole time, when I blamed all 3 of my marriages that I bit them all on the heel, but it's all your fault. It ain't like that, okay? If you ain't seeking wisdom, what you got? If you don't have wisdom, what do you got? You don't really got much, dude. Sure, you got a job, you got the Corvette. Cool, you got the Corvette, but you still ain't wise. You a damn fool with the Corvette. You probably ain't taking care of it, and you probably call me. All jokes aside. Well, I'm not saying that people are fools with Corvettes. I got some customers with Corvettes, and they're actually not fools, okay? So don't play that with me. I'm just saying. You have to understand life a little bit, okay? So you don't bite somebody with a snake and get hit with a stick and you blame everybody else and just walk off like you face no consequences from it. But you shake your fist at the whole world and the sky and the ground and everything else around you. It's all everybody else's fault, but I'm the center of the problem. Like, you look like the person that crapped their pants. I'm kind of, okay? You look like the person that crapped their pants that's, I crap my pants and it's all your guys' fault. It makes no sense, okay? Like, we didn't dookie, okay? Like, you're the one that dookie. You're the one that was hit with the stick. I'm not saying that crapping your pants is akin to biting somebody. I'm just speaking, okay? So you have to see it that way. When you bite somebody with a snake and you get hit with a stick, okay, and it causes a flood in your life, the person who is pointing their finger at everybody else and blaming everybody else is the person that's drowning with no ark. Boom. You're drowning with no ark because you have no wisdom. You're making foolish decisions day after day because you're pointing the finger at everybody else and you're not taking the accountability that you need to take. You're drowning. And the person that's drowning will try and latch on to your ark or your boat and try and drag you down and try and stay afloat. Use you as a life ring. So imagine what happens. A fool who blames themselves, okay, or a fool that blames everybody else, okay, and is drowning, and they're going through a flood because they bit somebody and they got betrayed, got hit with a stick from God, and it caused a flood in their life, okay? And they're blaming everybody else. They're going to immediately go and find the fool that is drowning with them and use them as a flotation device. Somebody that's wise, they're generally not going to latch onto them because they already know what they're going to say. You need to take accountability. They're going to be more of a parental wisdom. Wisdom will put you in a more parental role with a fool, where you try and teach them like a parent would, okay? And I'm not saying that I'm not going to teach Ralphie how to, I'm not going to scold at Ralphie like, you're being punished. It's more of I'm going to try and teach you a lesson that maybe you can take something from it and you don't try and use somebody as a flotation device and build a boat yourself. And once you build your ark, you keep on building it. You maintain it, okay? The roof flies off of it because you forgot about this parable or this piece of the Bible. You have to maintain your ark. You have to maintain it. If you're going through a storm, yeah, it's going to rip off some of your siding and this and that. You got to make sure you're structurally sound here. If you're not, you're going to be pointing the finger at everybody else and everybody else looking at you like, dog, you did it. Like, you're blaming your ex, but you did it. Even if they betrayed you and actively pursued it, which I had to accept too, my accountability of what I did, even for participating or even being around this person, okay? Here's the deal. You betray me, you did something, okay? But my accountability is me even coming around you and giving you that opportunity to betray me. You struck a flood in my life, and my way of taking accountability for it is by looking at the person that betrayed me and going, I forgive you. I'm going to work here. I'm going to work on this. I'm going to work on this. And once I got my heart, my mind right, and I got wisdom about it, I asked the appropriate questions about why this happened, this and that. And if you ask a question, why did I get betrayed? Well, because you were involved. That's the very minimum that you could take from it. The very minimum you can take is I participated. I was involved, or the most common thing I see with empaths and narcissists is empaths will point the finger at the narcissist, which is like, yeah, you're mentally kind of screwed up, dude. Like, you did a whole bunch of stuff to me. People get wise after going through narcissistic issues. They get at least a little bit wiser, even outside of biblical stuff. It's true that they get a little bit wiser. Some people hop from narcissist to narcissist to narcissist, and they're like, why are all these people attracted to me? Because you're not wise enough to spot them. Once you're wise, dude, a narcissist wants nothing to do with you. They want nothing to do with you. If you have Proverbs, you got you got books of the Bible in here, a narcissist wants nothing to do with you because they know they can't dupe you. They know they can't get one over on you. They can't use you as a flotation device. They can't screw you over because you're not willing to get involved. The least minimum that you would take away from it is, I'm a damn fool for being involved, and a wise person will see that. I'm not going to get involved with that narcissist, because I will be smacking myself with a stick and going, I should have known better. You don't get involved with people like that. If you see somebody use somebody else as a flotation device to stay afloat, don't go hang out with them and give them the chance to. You're basically walking up to them, oh yeah, drown me. Like, drown me. Like, it doesn't make any sense, okay? Why would you see, imagine you had a girlfriend, okay, and you're a chick, and you watched her basically screw this dude over in her life, and she's now struck by a flood because she screwed this dude over. And so she went to this other guy and used him as a flotation device and ruined his whole freaking career and everything else, and took it as much as she could from him by getting married and divorced, and they were both fools. What makes you think that you're not going to come around that person, hanging around them, and you're all around them all the time, and then they look around and they're like, okay, well, I'll do this from guy to guy to guy to guy. I can just do it to you. You're my new flotation device. And a narcissist will have like 5 flotation devices, just skimming across the water like some like sandfly or something, man. Just like hanging on to the lily pads, man. Just floating along, you know. And they're still dipping in the water. You know, people walk away and they fall right in. It's like they have no foundation. Imagine if a narcissist that screwed over 4 or 5 people in their life, they come around me, okay, and I've got wisdom, that they are not going to entertain me. So you will find out that when you are wise, a lot of people are going to avoid you, okay? Fools will avoid you. Wise people congregate. So you'll see, when you're wise and somebody else is wise, you will congregate with them. It's important that when you're to evaluate your circle in that means, because you could have somebody that's struck by a flood in their life, and they try and use everybody else as a flotation device. They do something stupid, now you're all involved because you were there, okay? To trust your circle is to trust that they have an arc here. If you have an arc, I'm totally cool with being around you, man. If you're wise, totally cool with being around you, because you know, if you get struck by a flood because Uncle Benny ended up screwing you over and bit you with a snake, and you're in a flood, that you have the necessary wisdom to make the appropriate choices to maintain your responsibilities and keep your life together because of the decisions you made up here and the state of mind you were in. Okay? So yeah, okay, you were struck by a flood. I'll be there for you. Yeah, I'll help you out because you're wise and you know you'll make the right decision. You ain't gonna try and latch on to me like some sand flea hanging on the back of my ark, and I'm looking at you like, dog, what are you doing? Like, I'll pull you on the ark and teach you something, but I gotta throw you back out there with your life ring. Like, you have to build your own boat. You can't just go from drowning to being my first mate on the ark. We all have to build our own arcs. You can't just hang on to somebody that's wise. It's kind of, well, in some situations, God may send you somebody's way to do that, to teach them by example, okay? So, when it comes to marriage, okay, what are you looking for? If someone asks you to marry them, and they've been using people as flotation devices, don't do it. No, if you're floating on your own boat, and we got 2 boats here, boat and a boat, better chance things are gonna go right for you. Like, you ain't gonna have people hanging on the life rings and doing this and that. They get struck by a flood, you can trust your partner not to go off on a midlife crisis and completely blow their life savings, or cheat on you, or do something stupid. You're struck by a flood because your mom died, okay? I can trust that my potential wife isn't going to have a midlife crisis and take off and blow her entire retirement and savings on vacations and treat me like I'm nothing, okay? I can trust that person's going to be going through something that I can assist them with, that they're not hanging on to me and dragging me down as an anchor, okay? They're not using me as a flotation device, and I'm not floating around out here. I'm wise. So I know I'm wise because I study the Bible. If you study the Bible and you read the Bible regularly, you know you're wise, okay? And you're more wiser than a fool, because I could go out and do something foolish. So anybody could, and a foolish decision can strike you, and it's just in the back of your mind, you ignore it, and then you made a foolish decision. It can happen to you. So a wise man can always be a fool, okay? Everybody is both, okay? Well, and you have some people that are just damn fools. They walk around not making one wise decision, just stumpy kicking the rock down the road. Like, it makes no sense. don't kicking the can down the road. That's all they're doing. It's not wise. You're just walking around being a fool. People can be both. You strive to be more wise than foolish, okay? And when you enter a marriage like that, you need to expect that your spouse is going to be like that with you. So what makes a successful marriage? Well, if you both studied the Bible together and you both understood, okay, the snake and the stick, the flood, this, the mark of Cain, and you understand all this and how it applies to how you two could live your life together, maybe that's the answer. That if you're going to go and get married, okay, then maybe you should do a little bit of retooling with them. And we're going to sit down and we're going to understand all this before we even decide to sign a contract before God. So we're going to go over, you could even just say, hey, if you really want to marry me, you're going to read the Bible with me, the whole thing all the way through, and I'll marry you. And if they're willing to do it, you probably got yourself a green flag, okay? If they're looking at that going, I'm not reading that whole Bible just to get married, dude, and they're probably not going to do it. Or they'll tell you they did it and they didn't. That's why you do it together. You can do it together, ask the necessary questions, get wisdom together. But it's an individual soul responsibility as well. And you can tell if you were like, okay, I'm going to read the Bible, you're going to read the Bible, we're going to get wisdom, and then we'll think about getting married. And you read the Bible and you can tell that they're still being a damn fool, okay? It's like you didn't do the work. And you could ask them a question too, like, what did you learn from Saul and David? And they're like, David was cool. Like, they don't really know. Or they'll say, oh yeah, David and Goliath. That's the number one thing I hear. What do you know about Saul and David? Oh yeah, David slayed Goliath, because it's one of the more famous stories of the Bible with David. Ask them, what happened with David and Uriah? Most of the time, with people that haven't read the Bible or read Samuel or any of that stuff, they're gonna look at you and go, I've never heard of Uriah. If you ain't heard of Uriah and the David situation, maybe that's important. Maybe there's things that you should ask your partner. If you both decide to read the Bible and do the retooling, you ask them something like that. What do you think about the David and Uriah situation in the Bible? And if they don't have an answer for you, or they pick up their phone on Google and start looking at it, like, obviously you know that they didn't do the work, that they may have read over it, but they didn't pay attention, or they just didn't even open the book at all, okay? And I think it's important. A lot of people will probably tell me people aren't willing to take that amount of time to go, through the Bible and study wisdom. Well, a marriage is probably one of the most important decisions you're going to make in your entire life when it comes to a divine contract, that maybe God demands that respect from you. You want a successful marriage? Do the work. Now, I'm not saying do the work by going off to a beach vacation and going out to steak every night. And, well, going out to steak every night ain't so bad, but sounds good. But what's it going to do for you? Okay, you bonded over an experience, but you didn't bond over necessary wisdom and knowledge. You didn't feed your spirit together. Two people that feed their spirit together will last, dude. They will last. Even if you made the most foolish damn decisions in your life, and somebody feeds their spirit with you, you can see people wake up and go, what? And a lot of times, if they have stuff they need to rectify and they need to do, give them some time. Here's the deal. If you decide you want to marry this person, you read the Bible together, these necessary books, okay? Think about it. And your partner that you asked to marry you says, I need some time to figure this out because I screwed up a lot in my life that I need to rectify it, and then we can do it. Give them that space. Go ahead. That's cool. That's a wise decision to make. A foolish decision to make would be to get all mad, and I need you to commit, and this and that. We're getting married or we're not. Go make the necessary decisions you need to make and rectify what you need to rectify, and alleviate as much full circle as you can. Fix your life. Here's the deal too, is if you read the Bible with somebody that you were potentially going to get married to, even if they didn't marry you, you made necessary changes and built an ark here, and you were a milestone in their life. Say they married somebody else, that person has a lot of respect for you because you two fed your spirits together and you figured that out. This is why I was wise, this is why I was foolish, and I didn't read the book of Jesus Christ, and now I read it. Now the parables have awakened me to certain things that I need to do in my life, okay? That I need to fix this. If I don't fix this, it's going to permeate into my marriage. I screwed this person over. If I don't rectify this to a certain alleviation, it's going to screw over any potential marriage or anything I have in the future, even if it's with you or not with you. And you could walk away from that experience where they get wise, you get wise, you meet somebody that's wise, that works better, and you're okay with it, and they're okay with it. You went separate ways, but you did the work together. So even if you're married to different people, you still did the work together and have that bond. Even if it was just that you read the Bible separate, but you decided to make the active decision to do it, you always know, I could trust that person because they fed their spirit with me. They didn't drain me of anything. They weren't like parasitic vampire sand fleas hanging on to everybody, floating along with all these life rings. They did the necessary work, or it triggered them to do it. So they always trust you. They will always trust that you're always going to do right by them, okay? Because you decided to make that necessary intervention, okay? So this is where, like, say I'm dating a girl and I tell her I want to see her get a little more wisdom. So a lot of people get pissed at you and be like, I'm not stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm saying you need to feed your spirit. If you feed your spirit, then I need to see progress with that. If I see you walking around full of dark seeds and everything, and you're not making the active decision to remove them, I can't just take them out of you. That's where people will come to you and ask you for advice, and it's like, remove this insecurity from me. You should be probably looking at God to do that, and not me. I'm just here to give you a direction. I'm here to point God in the Bible. You should talk to God about it. So if I ever tell you, if you ever come to me for advice, okay, and I tell you, you have to get wisdom here, here, and here, and here, I'm not calling you stupid. I'm not calling you a fool. I'm not trying to trigger you. I'm telling you, you need to feed your spirit with this information and wisdom and program it into your skull. Once you do that, then you come back to me and go, okay, he wasn't calling me stupid. This is where you see that if you correct a wise man, he will thank you for it. But you correct a fool and they will scoff at you, okay? So sometimes you can correct a fool, and then later on they figure it out and they go, oh yeah, I kind of scoffed at that dude. And then they come back to you later and they're like, hey man, thanks for saying all that. It took me a while to figure it out, but I learned something from it. That could be 20 years later. It could be. If I tell you to get wisdom, I'm not telling you you're stupid. I will never tell anybody they're stupid unless I really see something stupid, dude. And I mean stupid as in there was no meaning other than I learned not to jump off of, a 3-story house into a swimming pool with a bike and completely shatter both legs. Like, I mean, it's, there has to be a certain level of just like, dang, like that's crazy. So if I ever tell you get wisdom, I'm not instantly telling you you're a damn fool, okay? I'm a damn fool too. I do stuff that's not wise, okay? All the time? No. Did I used to? Yeah, dude. I used to smoke pot a lot. Every time I smoked, I was a damn fool because my state of mind was not where it should have been, okay? And some people would disagree with me, and that's okay. But it depends on the user of marijuana, okay? And I won't even go into that. I'm not on a marriage video, so this is different. This is branched off, I'm sorry, but maybe this is something that I just throw a talk random and it helps people. It could be if people just hate me for it, that's okay. I don't really care. If you hate me, get in line, okay? Get in line, throw a stick at me, I might pick the stick up and go, maybe I could use this for something. Well, I mean, if people insult you or throw sticks at you or throw rocks at you and they just shake their fist at you and they do this, you need to figure out, evaluate that situation. Some people just, whatever, you threw sticks and rocks at me, and sometimes you have to do that. But somebody says this, and this to you, I can pick up that stick and go, okay, you have a deep seed here or a deep problem here that's there that maybe it hasn't been resolved since childhood, so I understand people a little bit better. You can do that. Somebody insults you, I can't stand, you're calling me stupid, you're calling me a fool, you're calling me stupid. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not calling you stupid, but the fact that you're taking it that way means that you are not aware of the perspective of having wisdom in your mind and telling somebody that this will benefit you. If I'm telling you to get wisdom, it will benefit you. I'm not hitting you with a stick telling you you're dumb. I'm not doing that, okay? It's not, I don't roll like that, okay? The only person that I'd probably hit with a stick and tell him that was dumb is the person that backflipped off of a 3-story building into a swimming pool and broke both legs. And to be honest, I probably still wouldn't hit him with a stick on the head because, well, I feel bad for you because you just broke both your legs. I'm just saying. I'm not that type of person to just turn around and just tell you you're an idiot, okay? Well, and maybe that's necessary for some people. Some people, they like thrive off of it, where you're like, you should tell me I was an idiot. And you're like, well, you were an idiot. I mean, I don't really know. And I don't really go off telling people they're idiots. But you were a fool for this reason. If you were Ralphie and you were sitting in that passenger seat asking me, or telling me, I cheated on my girlfriend and I lost her and this and this and that, I would tell you, you made a foolish decision to cheat and to do that off of your own self-satisfaction of wanting something outside of yourself. So I'm not going to tell you you were stupid for doing that. Some people might just teach you that way, okay? If somebody just tells you you were stupid or you were an idiot, and that's all they tell you, they don't really have very much wisdom either. They just know it's apparent that it wasn't a very smart decision to do it. But they didn't tell you why, and they didn't force the self-reflection on you. So if somebody came to me and said, I cheated on my girlfriend, okay? Or I cheated on my wife. And I've had this happen before where I didn't make the necessary steps because I didn't have the wisdom to do that. I didn't have the authority, and the authority came with the wisdom of God in the book. Once you have the wisdom, you have a little more authority to be able to teach people and direct them, okay? So, a person cheated on their wife, and I was like, that's not good, you know what I mean? It's like, oh crap. Like, I didn't really know what to say. I was like, don't cheat on your wife? I don't really know what to say. So, I wasn't able to ask them, how was it meaningful? If you ask somebody, how is it meaningful that you cheated on your spouse, and they look at you like you're insane, follow up with how was it meaningless, and what did you find meaningful out of the meaninglessness decision, or the meaningless of it? So people will look at you like that. You're like, they could look at you and be like, how was that meaningful? Well, good question. But they have to see it. They have to see it. They have to be fed a good seed in a way. So presentation is key when you give people advice, okay? And some people just want to vent to you. Cheated on my wife. And it's like, okay. Do you want advice? Do you want wisdom and direction from me? Or do you just want to be, validated that, yeah, you cheated on your wife and it wasn't smart? Or, are you looking for someone to agree with you that it was a necessary decision? Some people do that. Agree with me that it was necessary. So, wisdom's a big deal. I can't stress it enough. I can't tell you how important it is. You get wise, your whole life changes. Everything around you changes, okay? Wisdom will change your whole life. It will teach you. They are hard knocks you will take, but they are necessary. So wisdom, you can feel like you're allergic to it because of the decisions that you've made, okay? The decisions that you've made can make you feel like when you start gaining wisdom, you're getting hit with a stick constantly and it's unbearable, but it is necessary. Lick your wounds and understand why it happened. Let God hit you with the stick so you learn something. It's better than going off and making the same mistake over again. Until next time, Lone Wolf. Peace out.